Hello, hello, my dear students. I hope you all have been doing well. Today, we are going to start our new topic, and this is bioenergetics. So, up till now, we have completed um, our topic of metabolism of lipids. We have completed it. First, we start from this course. We start this course from the metabolism of glucose. We completed that metabolism of glucose, then we studied about the metabolism of lipid, and then we complete the metabolism lipid, and then after that we started uh, metabolism of protein, and till lecture number 14 we have completed our topic metabolism of protein, and now we have completed all the metabolic pathway of glucose, lipid and protein metabolism up till now, till from lecture number 1 to lecture number 14. So from here we from lecture number 15 we are going to start our new topic, and this is about bioenergetics. So whatever we have studied in our three main topics, that is lipid, protein and carbohydrate metabolism, in that topic that we have covered from lecture number 1 to 14, we studied about how the lipid, protein and carbohydrate digest, absorb in our body organ and body cell, and then after the digestion how they reaches to the inside the cell, how they transported inside the cell uh, um, in the form of single monomeric molecule or single monomer, and then after the reaching inside the cell how the single monomer of protein, lipid and carbohydrate digestion further catabolize within inside our cells and produce energy. So and what is our main goal of this metabolism of all the macromolecule inside our body? The goal of the metabolism of lipid, protein and carbohydrate in our body is to produce energy. So the in the form of ATP, because eventually we have to perform our daily work. So to perform daily work or to perform biochemical reaction in our body, these energy synthesize in our body. So the main goal of all the metabolic pathway that takes place in our body, that are the pathway of protein, lipid and carbohydrate metabolism, including both anabolism and catabolism. The goal is to produce energy in the form of ATP. So the what up till now, whatever we have studied till this lecture, till lecture number 14, we have studied that how protein, lipid and carbohydrate in our body metabolize, what are the pathways and what enzyme use for the metabolism of protein, carbohydrate and lipid in our body, and how this lipid, protein and carbohydrate digest in our body, and what enzyme um, take part for their digestion, and how they absorb in our body, and what protein involve for the transportation of these molecule in our body. So excuse me. So till now we have studied about all these things. Now we now going to start our new chapter and a new topic, and it is about bioenergetics. In this topic we will be studying that how means what this bioenergetics actually, the bioenergetics, we will be studying that uh, how all these pathways of protein, lipid and carbohydrate metabolism um, uh, end up on a single ATP molecule, that is the energy currency molecule, or this is energy energy consuming, or we can say energy storage molecule. All the pathways that means that are involved in metabolism, means all the molecule lipid, protein and carbohydrate metabolism produce ATP. So this ATP, how this they produce ATP. So how the ATP conserved in our body, and how ATP store energy in our body, or how the energy store in our body in the form of ATP, we would be here in this topic discussing. So actually bioenergetics tell us how the energy is stored in our body in the form of ATP, and what are these pathways. So actually, bioenergetics is a field in the biochemistry and cell biology that concern energy flow through living system, and this is an active area of biological research that include the study of the transformation of energy in living organism, and the study of thousands of different cellular processes such as cellular respiration and the many other metabolic and enzymatic processes that lead to the production and utilization of energy in the form such as ATP. So we have already discussed that what is bioenergy energetic. Actually, in bioenergetic is a topic that is about only the energy production, how the energy synthesize, or what are the pathway that synthesize energy in our body, and what are these molecule that break down and produce energy, or that in our body. So bioenergetics means energy किस तरह form होती है हमारी body में. The energy form in our body during the metabolic processes. So these are the two metabolic processes. One is anabolic pathways, and one is catabolic pathway. So whenever any molecule uh, uh, any bigger molecule catabolize into smaller molecule, they release energy. However, any when the smaller molecule combine together and form bigger molecule, they use energy. So the energy is produced in our body during the anabolic reactions, and during the anabolic reactions, and during the catabolic reactions, I am sorry, when the bigger molecule convert into smaller molecule. So how the bigger molecule convert into smaller molecule? The bigger molecule catabolize or break down, and how they break down? They break down because the bond between the two monomeric unit that are present in a bigger molecule break down. So energy is produced due to the breakdown of the bonds between the molecule. And in the bioenergetics we will be study that how this energy transform in from the one form into the other form. Excuse me. So the energy is formed in our body, or release from in energies form in our body in the form of ATP. And this ATP form, how this ATP form? This ATP form during different metabolic processes, or especially during the catabolism. And what is the ATP? ATP is adenosine triphosphate, and we have well discussed in our previous lecture that about the structure of the ATP. ATP is a nucleotide. It is having a sugar base, uh, that is a ribose sugar, and then that is a deoxyribose sugar, or it is a nucleotide, and it is a DNA nucleotide. It is a having deoxyribose sugar. It is having 3 phosphate group. And so the energy that is produced in our body, the energy is produced due to the breakdown of this phosphate group. So these phosphate group are joined in the ATP molecule via phosphoanhydride bond. So whenever the phosphoanhydride bond hydrolyze in our body, so they produce energy. They release ADP and a phosphate group, and then the actually the energy that is released in our body, or that is formed in our body, this is due to the hydrolysis of phosphoanhydride bond. And this continuously in our body, the ATP form, ADP and ADP continuously keep converting into each other. Means once the ATP form in our body, and after the formation of ATP, if we have to uh, anabolize any molecule in our body, means we have to join a larger molecule from the smaller one. So this ATP is converted into ADP, and then PI, phosphate group that release, phosphoryl group that release from this ATP, used to synthesize the bigger molecule from the smaller one for the anabolism. And however, whenever bigger molecule have to metabolize into smaller one, so ATP convert into ADP and PI. So that is how the ratio of ATP and ADP keep means transform from one to means keep the ratio of ATP and ADP keep means changes, or keep transform from one form to other form. And this ratio is also known as energy change. Means one form of energy, that is the ATP, that is present in our body in the form of ATP, convert into ADP when there are anabolic reaction takes place in our body. So this is the ADP is another form of energy. And whenever the catabolic process takes place in our body, so this ADP convert into ATP. So during the catabolic and anabolic reaction, this form of energy keep changes. uh, so this energy changes, and the ratio of the ATP and ADP is termed as energy change. So uh, in our we have already discussed that in living organism, the ATP produced from where ATP produced in living organism by different metabolic reaction, and via sunlight or via oxygen. So in our coming lecture we will be studying that how uh, in the living organism ATP synthesized. So we have already discussed the production of an ATP from the metabolic reaction that we have studied up till now. Means energy ATP produced during glycolysis, during citric acid cycle, and during other pathways. But energy in the form of ATP can also produce via oxidative phosphorylation. So this oxidative phosphorylation is a process we also say is this cellular respiration, because in this pathway energy produce from oxygen, not from the metabolism of larger macromolecule. So in our in the body of human being, or in the body of living organism, energy may be synthesized from the catabolic reactions, that is glycolysis, citric acid cycle, or energy can be synthesized from sunlight, or energy can be synthesized from the oxygen that we consume during our everyday life or throughout our life. So these are the pathways of energy production, or these are the sources of energy production, or the sources of ATP production in our body. So um, uh, and then energy can be produced from different inorganic material in the body of human organism, in the body of living organism. For example, lithotroph synthesize ATP from nitrite, from sulfur, from elemental sulfur, or from the sulfite. So the organism, living organism that oxidize nitrite, sulfur, elemental sulfur or sulfite and produce ATP. So we term these organisms as lithotroph. So and they plants synthesize ATP from sunlight and by the process of photosynthesis. And human being synthesize ATP from oxygen, from catabolism of larger macromolecules such as protein, lipid, carbohydrate, and from the sunlight. So these were the sources from where the means living organisms synthesize energy. So energy, here we are seeing that how ATP or ADP synthesize, and how this ratio keep means converting uh, the one type of energy keep converting into another type. So the energy is synthesized, this ATP, or the purpose, as I said you previously, uh, the goal of the metabolic reaction in our body is to synthesize energy or or use energy. Means goal of the metabolic reaction in our body, goal of the metabolic pathway in our body, or goal of the metabolism of macromolecule or lipid, protein, carbohydrate in our body is to either produce energy or either consumption of energy. If the metabolic pathway are in the of the type of catabolism or these are the catabolic pathway. Metabolism is both type, catabolism or anabolism. If the metabolic pathway are breaking down the lipid, protein, carbohydrate into the smaller molecule, means if the metabolic pathway are the nature of the catabolism, or in the they are means break down the larger molecule into smaller molecule, or if the metabolic pathway are catabolizing the molecule into smaller one, so they produce energy. How they produce energy? They when a bond will be break down, so the by the process of hydrolysis, so the energy is produced. And this energy, from where this energy is produced? The energy is produced from the hydrolysis of phospho and hydroid bond that would be present between the phosphate of the ATP. So this ATP, the phosphate group, that will phosphoryl group that will be released from the by the breakdown of phospho and hydride bond, would be add up this ADP and convert this ADP into ATP. However, whenever anabolic reaction takes place in our body, so this ATP would be uh, uh, then this ATP would be um, this ATP phosphoanhydride bond would be hydrolyzed and produce energy. Uh, so all these are the catabolic and anabolic pathway that are involved in the production of energy or either the consumption of energy. So the when the energy release during any reaction, this would be the exergonic reaction. They release energy, and these where this exergonic reaction takes place in our body. This takes place during the catabolism of any larger molecule, or they release energy. So whenever the energy is released from our body after the breakdown of molecules, so we call it cell respiration. And then endergonic process require energy. And what are where the endergonic reaction takes place in our body during the process of anabolism. So and other what are the other processes that require energy? The active transport of the nutrients. For example, we studied during the our protein metabolism, or during our lipid during our lecture of the lipid and the carbohydrate and the protein digestion and absorption. Whenever these macromolecule convert into monomeric unit, the monomeric unit transport inside the cell via the help of protein against the concentration gradient. So to transport these molecule, the energy is used. So and whenever the monomeric molecule transfer from the lower concentration to higher concentration, so we say this transport is an active transport, because uh, this transport require energy to transport the molecule from lower concentration to higher concentration, and the energy is used to transport this molecule in the form of ATP. So the where we need the energy in the form of ATP for the anabolic reaction, means to join smaller molecule into the larger molecule. We need uh, so we need energy, and we need an energy we need energy so and we need energy, and when there are exergonic reaction, the exergonic reaction release energy. So this energy used for the active transport of the different material in our body, for the cell movement, and for the anabolism, that is the joining of the molecule into joining of the smaller molecule into bigger one. So the purpose of this slide here is that both the exergonic and the endergonic reaction are coupled together. What does it mean? This mean that whatever the energy that release during the catabolic reaction, this energy convert this ADP into ATP, uh, and then whenever this uh, endergonic reaction takes place, they break down this ATP and release energy. So the energy that is released, that again used to make join with ADP and convert this ADP into ADP. So this cycle remain continue in our body, because both this exergonic and endergonic reaction takes place simultaneously in our body. Means uh, as we have studied in our lecture of the protein metabolism or amino acid metabolism, whenever protein break down in our body, excuse me, so what they convert into amino acid, and amino acid pool will remain in our liver, and it can be again used to synthesize new protein. So this is how these means both reaction simultaneously takes place in our body. So here are the example of some bioenergetics process that we have studied till now: glycolysis, gluconeogenesis, citric acid cycle. We have studied all these pathways in our previous lecture. In glycolysis, the breakdown of glucose, that is end up on pyruvate and then production of energy. Gluconeogenesis and the citric acid cycle, we have already discussed these processes in our previous lecture. This pathway also produce energy, and these three pathway are takes place in our human body. However, the photosynthesis takes place in the plant, and this photosynthesis use sunlight and the carbon dioxide to produce ATP molecule, and the oxidative phosphorylation is another process that produce ATP from oxygen. So this oxidative phosphorylation is also called as cellular respiration, and oxidative phosphorylation takes place in a human body. So in our next lecture we would be studying that how human beings, or how the living organism, this oxidative phosphorylation takes place in living human being, living organisms. So we would be studying in our next lecture that how ATP can be synthesized via from oxygen. So up till now, whatever we have been studied here till this lecture, we have been studied that ATP how can be produced by the breakdown of a larger macromolecule that are carbohydrate, protein and lipid. Now from coming lecture we would be study that how ATP molecule produce from oxygen. So this pathway is called as oxidative phosphorylation. Excuse me. So this was all about the bioenergetics, and I hope you understand that, and for your understanding I will again conclude for you what is the bioenergetics. Bioenergetics actually tell us how ATP synthesized in our body, and what are these pathways that synthesize ATP in our body. ATP can be synthesized in our body via the catabolism of larger macromolecule, protein, lipid, carbohydrate, and ATP can be synthesized from oxygen uh, via the process of oxidative phosphorylation. This is about the production of energy from oxygen and um, from um, cat, catabolism of larger macromolecule. However, in plant, the ATP synthesized from sunlight. So this was the whole about our the topic, that was the bioenergetics. And just you have to keep in your mind that the bioenergetics is